You don't complain. Even when things are heavy, you tell yourself it's fine, you've handled worse. But late at night, there's a quiet question you don't say out loud. Why does it feel like I've always been on my own, even when I wasn't? You don't know where that feeling came from, but it's been there a long time. You grew up learning how to function, not how to feel. You learned to be capable, independent, self-contained. You didn't need much, and you didn't ask for much. So now, when something hurts, you minimize it. When you're overwhelmed, you push through. When someone asks how you're doing, you give the shorter answer. Not because you're hiding, but because explaining feels inefficient. There's a subtle identity that formed around this, the one who doesn't fall apart, the one others rely on, the one who keeps going, but underneath that identity, something else happens. You struggle to rest without guilt. You struggle to receive help without discomfort. You struggle to know what you actually need because no one ever asked. This isn't just personality, it's a psychological pattern. A nervous system shaped by early self-reliance. And the effects show up everywhere. In relationships, you handle problems alone before bringing them up, if you bring them up at all. At work, you take on responsibility without asking for support. In your inner dialogue, you're practical, but rarely gentle. You're not numb. You're contained. And containment, over decades, has a cost. But the reason matters more than the cost. You weren't emotionally neglected because no one cared. You were emotionally unattended because the world was louder, harsher, and less emotionally literate. Many Gen X minds adapted to environments where adults were busy surviving, emotional language wasn't modeled, and independence was praised more than expression. So your brain learned something very specific. Don't add weight, don't need too much, figure it out yourself. That wasn't a flaw, it was an adaptation. Psychologically, adaptation always comes first. Meaning comes later. Your nervous system didn't ask what would help me thrive. It asked what keeps me safe and functional. And self-sufficiency was the answer available at the time. The problem isn't that you learned it. The problem is that you never learned when to stop using it. Your brain is a prediction machine. It constantly asks what usually happens when I express need. And then it adjusts your behavior accordingly. For many Gen X minds, the prediction was simple. Expression didn't change much, but competence did. So the brain reinforced competence. Imagine your emotional system like a thermostat. Early on, your thermostat learned that showing distress didn't raise the temperature of care. So it stopped signaling. Instead, it rerouted energy into control, planning, and endurance. That's not emotional shutdown. That's emotional reallocation. The mental model is simple. Need leads to low response, which trains self-regulation as default. Over time, your brain strengthened neural pathways for emotional suppression, task focus, and internal problem-solving, while weakening pathways for external support-seeking, emotional labeling, and vulnerable expression. The result is steady but rarely soothed, capable but rarely held. Your nervous system stays in a low-grade state of tension without realizing it. This isn't about becoming more emotional. It's about updating an outdated survival strategy. First, name before you solve. Pause and name the internal state without fixing it. I'm tense. I'm tired. I feel pressured. Affect labeling activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces amygdala activation. When you name a state, you shift from being inside the emotion to observing it. Instead of jumping into action when stressed, you say the feeling once. No explanation, just recognition. Your nervous system registers relief before logic kicks in. Second, practice low-stakes receiving. Let someone help in a small way that doesn't threaten your identity. The brain updates its predictions through experience. Tiny positive moments of support create new neural associations. You let someone carry the bag. You accept the suggestion. You don't correct or justify. Your system learns that receiving doesn't equal weakness. It begins to recalibrate trust. Third, delay self-reliance by 90 seconds. When stress hits, wait before defaulting to control. Stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol spike quickly but fall if not reinforced by rumination or action. Waiting interrupts the automatic coping loop. Instead of immediately planning or suppressing, you sit, breathe, let the wave pass. You notice how much urgency was chemical, not situational. That awareness weakens the old pathway. Fourth, separate strength from silence. Redefine strength as flexibility, not endurance. Cognitive schemas about identity shape behavior. If strength equals silence, your brain resists expression. When strength equals adaptive choice, expression becomes possible. You speak up once, calmly, not to collapse, not to vent, just to share information. Your nervous system learns that expression doesn't equal danger. Something loosens. Fifth, build one place where you don't perform. Create one relationship, space, or ritual with zero competence requirement. Chronic self-regulation increases allostatic load, the physiological cost of staying braced. Moments of non-performance allow parasympathetic activation, a walk with no agenda, a conversation with no fixing, a moment where you're not the strong one. Your body notices safety before your mind does. Over time, that safety becomes familiar. Here's the model to remember. Your system isn't broken, it's overtrained. Like a muscle that learned to hold tension for decades, the shift isn't from independence to dependence. It's from rigidity to choice, from always carrying to knowing when you don't have to. Every time you pause, name, receive, or soften, you're teaching your brain a new prediction. Not dramatically, not loudly, but effectively. You didn't become this way by accident. You became this way because it worked once. Now your nervous system is waiting for new information, not proof that you're safe forever, just evidence that you don't have to do everything alone. Strength was never the problem. It was never meant to be carried endlessly. And the moment you let yourself rest, even briefly, your brain starts learning something new, that maybe, finally, you're allowed to be supported too.